Mortal Kombat is now out today. It is on HBO Max. It is in the theaters. Which one are you going to see it in? If you're going to see it at all, drop some comments below. Let me know. We're going to get into a review of this. Stay tuned. This one's going to be fun. I've got a lot of thoughts on this. The good, the bad, the ugly. And what is my final score for this movie at the end of the day? Here we go. Mortal Kombat has dropped. It has dropped on HBO Max. It has dropped in the theaters. It is out now for everybody to see. Hopefully you've had a chance to see it yet. I'm not going to really get into spoilers in this video. I will get into a few towards the end. I will give you fair warning only as it necessitates the use of these spoilers to kind of make a few points on my observations of the film itself. So let's get right into it. So 1995, 26 years ago, we got our first glimpse at a Mortal Kombat motion picture, which by all accounts was very well received by audiences. I mean, it was a good movie, had a good story. The special effects back then just weren't there. And the big thing was that Hollywood decided it really had to stay with a PG-13 rating on that movie, which essentially negated the ability for the filmmakers to include a lot of the signature Mortal Kombat things like fatalities, the blood, the gore, all this kind of stuff. Well, this movie delivers that in spades. It is fantastic. It's well done. It's eye candy from start to finish in that regard for the fight scenes. I do have a few complaints. I'll get to those first, and then I'm going to tell you what I really liked about the movie and then give you my final thoughts and score on it. And again, fair warning before I go into any spoilers. What I did not like, how to put this, didn't care too much for the lead actor. Let's put it that way. He was frankly rather boring. I realized that they wanted to put an exposition character in this movie. They wanted to have somebody new who could be an audience point of view. So we got Cole. And of course, a few weeks ago, we talked about the tweet or the article that came out with one of the producers of this movie discussing why Johnny Cage was not involved. You can go watch that video. I don't want to go back through that again. But one of the things about that, which came after that, was to talk about why they used a brand new character that nobody had seen before, had never been in a game. It was invented for the movie, so we got this guy. I was hoping that they were going to do, or at least probably have cast an actor that would have been a little bit more interesting. The character itself, I found, was a little flat, although could have gone somewhere with the way they did things. However, that being said, the cast around this character, I was largely very impressed with and very pleased with, and the writing itself, while was a bit clunky, I didn't like giant exposition scenes, and this really is not spoiling anything, but, basically where you have Sonya Blade, and you've seen her in the trailer, so obviously we all know she's in the movie. Sonya Blade is basically just going into this giant exposition dump. From a writing standpoint, it seems like they could have done something a little bit more clever than that, at least not having all at one time. They were trying to drive the story forward, but again, it's forgivable given all the other good stuff that we'll get to in a minute. The soundtrack was okay. Not as good as the 95 movie, I didn't think, although they did bring in that iconic Mortal Kombat theme from 1995. Does come into play more towards the end of the movie in the climax moments, which I thought was great. I just thought they could have done a better job with some of the score elsewhere in the movie. But that was that. As far as everything else goes, like I said, apart from the story and the actor that was playing the lead, Cole, I overall enjoyed it. I really did. And it made up so much for that lack of performance in those two areas. Plus, I believe you had a director on this movie who really had almost no experience. I don't know what Warner Brothers was thinking making these choices with the writing crew and the director that they had, and folks have been talking about this for several weeks or even a couple of months about who was working on this movie. It's kind of a head scratcher. I think if Warner Brothers had found a more experienced team or a more experienced guide as far as a director or as a writing crew, I think they could have taken this movie up to, something that was pretty good to something that would have been spectacular. I think they kind of missed the boat on that. But again, for all of its faults, let's get to why this movie was fantastic. And that is, it did what a Mortal Kombat movie is supposed to do. It's supposed to have great action fighting sequences. It's supposed to have a lot of blood and gore. We've got fatalities. Kano as a character, in my opinion, kind of stole the whole movie. His one-liners, he had the best lines in the movie. It was absolutely funny. He completely overshadowed the other characters, and I think his story arc itself, you kind of knew where it was going from the beginning. But all in all, it was still extremely, extremely well done. So from that standpoint, before I get into any spoiler information, I'm just going to tell you right now, overall, extremely satisfied with it. Had a great time watching it. This was just a fun, turn your brain off, popcorn movie. The story was well enough done. Again, although a little clunky in places, the story was well enough done. The other actors and characters I thought their performances were either very good or adequate enough to kind of get over some of the flatter performances, unfortunately, by the lead in the movie. And it worked. It worked. I'm going to give the movie a solid 7 out of 10. Overall, very pleased with it. So now, here comes the spoiler warning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Okay. Most of you who are going to see this movie are kind of familiar with how the Mortal Kombat universe works. So this movie starts out, as we all saw the first 7 minutes drop on HBO Max and on YouTube the other day. It opens up with somewhat of an origin story of Scorpion, okay, back about 400 years ago in Japan. And we see the fight between him and SubZero, who's not really in character yet. He certainly still has his powers at this point, Bihan, and he goes after who becomes Scorpion. And the actor playing Scorpion is phenomenal. He's an amazing actor, and I wish he was in the movie a whole hell of a lot more than he was. And this setup is basically 400 years later, and right off the bat, if you don't figure this out, shame on you, because it's pretty obvious, is that the brand new, never-before-seen character of Cole is a descendant of Scorpion, okay? I do like the way that the movie leads the characters through. I do kind of like how we got the introduction to Kano, although the scene that he is in was the scene I was saying earlier that was just a big exposition dump by Sonya Blade onto Cole to tell him, this is what your mark means, this is what Mortal Kombat is, this is who this is who that is, this is how all this works. It was a little bit of lazy writing, in my opinion, on that scene. But it does introduce us to Kano, who performs the first fatality in the movie, basically, by ripping Reptile's heart out. It's great. It's absolutely spectacular. And this is where this movie totally wins. Kano's one-liners when he starts training with Liu Kang, talking about, okay, enough of that Harry Potter shit. I mean, Kano's lines were just absolutely brilliant. And I just wanted more of them the entire movie. I really, really did. But as the movie progresses, and this is the big kicker. Of course, you can get in the fight, and you have Shang Tsung, you have Goro. I thought they kind of nerfed Goro a little bit when, as the characters progress, the good guys start learning their inner powers and how to unlock them, which I thought the storytelling did a good job giving that a backstory to how these powers actually come to be. I did like that. I have to give him credit for that. But when this new character, Cole, unlocks his powers, it's basically just like a body armor, and he's got some blades. I thought it was a little chintzy, and he pretty much takes Goro out pretty quickly. Goro gets gutted, let's put it that way. And I thought I didn't like the fact that he was completely nerfed, kind of like that. Kind of bothered me. But the movie does seem to leave things open, especially at the end. They definitely left it open for a second movie. I mean, they said tantamount, oh yeah, by the way, we're now going to send you guys out to go find other fighters. And the last scene is Cole in the gym talking about, I have to go to Hollywood now to find this guy, and you see a poster of Johnny Cage on the wall. So there you go. Johnny Cage has definitely been set up for the sequel. The final fight between SubZero and Scorpion overall was spectacular. This is where we got the resurgence of the original Mortal Kombat music. It was great. It was just one. I mean, I'm coming out of my chair cheering. It was just a fun time watching that. So I'm looking forward to seeing it again. I'm looking forward to seeing a sequel of it. Let me know in the comments below what you thought. I thought overall, like I said, this was a great movie. It did what a Mortal Kombat movie needed to do. It needed to have big fights. It needed to have great fight choreography. It needed to have fatalities. It needed to have the blood, the gore, and the characters needed to be put together right. At least the legacy characters, not talking about the new guy, but the legacy characters needed to be treated correctly. And I think overall, it did a pretty good job. And I did actually kind of like Chin Han playing Shang Tsung. I know to American audiences, a lot of these names like that, they don't ring a bell. Like in Shang-Chi, most people don't know who Tony Leung is, the guy who's playing Mandarin. We just got the Shang-Chi trailer drop. That excited the hell out of me when I saw that. But again, I know who some of these guys are. So I think all in all, it worked really well. I think what they put together was great, and I hope to see more. That's it for now, guys. Take care.